Hello. Welcome again to our look at evidences for the historical reliability of the Bible. This week, I'd like to look at two fairly recent archaeological discoveries that I think are rather interesting. The finding of the Dead Sea Scrolls has been regarded as one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of all time. Yet, 2 weeks ago, we saw that the even more recent discovery of the Silver Scrolls at Ketef Hinnom predate the Dead Sea Scrolls by several centuries. Yet there are other pieces of biblical information that predate the Dead Sea Scrolls and even the Ketef Hinnom Scrolls, although not in the form of the biblical text. One of the more interesting ones was found at a place called Deir Allah, which was an ancient Ammonite city located in present-day Jordan. It lies east of the Jordan River and just north of a tributary of the Jordan called the Jabbok River. When Deir Allah was excavated in 1967, an inscription was found drawn with ink on a plaster wall dating back to the mid-8th century BC. On it was told the story of a prophetic figure from earlier times. The figure's name, Balaam, son of Beor. Here's the text, and remember that this comes not from an Israelite village, but from an Ammonite village. Inscription of Balaam, son of Beor, the man who was a seer of the gods. Lo, the gods came to him at night and spoke to him, according to these words, and they said to Balaam, son of Beor, thus, There has appeared the last flame, a fire of chastisement has appeared. And Balaam arose the next day, and he could not eat, and he wept intensely. And his people came to him and said to Balaam, son of Beor, Why do you fast, and why do you weep? And he said to them, Sit down, and I shall show you how great is the calamity. And come, see the deeds of the gods. This doesn't qualify as biblical text, but it is obviously very similar. And a story about a figure in the Hebrew Bible on the walls of an Ammonite village in the mid-8th century BC is pretty significant. A second discovery that I'd like to look at doesn't qualify as biblical text either, but it does raise some interesting questions. You remember the story of David and Goliath. Goliath is a fairly common term in use today. When things are really large, they are sometimes referred to as Goliath, like the Goliath grouper or the Goliath beetle. But in ancient times, Goliath was not a common name at all. In fact, it was a very uncommon name. In a recent discovery, names very similar to Goliath and of the same cognate form have been found. In modern terms, it might be viewed as similar to the difference between the names Bill and Billy. In 2005, a pottery shard, known as the Goliath Shard, was found at a site that dates to the 9th or 10th century BC. In addition to the unusual name and the early time frame, the location of the discovery was interesting. It was found at the site of the ancient city of Gath. From the Bible, we know that Gath was the hometown of Goliath. Not only Goliath, but several giants hailed from Gath. Now, this may not prove much, but it does make you wonder. An extremely uncommon name from the pages of the Bible, Goliath, is found in an archaeological dig of which the findings date to about 100 years or less from the time of the story from the Bible. And of all the towns on earth, it is found in the one town that the Bible says is the hometown of Goliath. It makes you wonder if the writers of the books of the Bible weren't simply making up stories hundreds of years later, but were possibly people actually on the scene writing history. Goliath, Balaam the son of Beor. I hope that you'll join us in the coming weeks as we continue to look at individuals and events in the Bible come to life in the light of archaeological and historical evidences.